I see the cans are out. Ready?
Hello. Welcome to Rhythm and Pixels, a video game music podcast. This is episode 37-3, and we're your hosts. My name is Rob Nichols.
Wait, we're a music podcast?
Kind of.
Oh,
Bear with
realize.
me. Podcasts. Music.
Oh, so they go
John Hamm meme, putting his hands up. Ha!
Oh, yes, that's what we are. We are that thing you just described.
That's right.
So let me put my hands up here, and that will symbolize that we make the cut. We fulfill all the criteria to be a BGM Hands in the Air podcast.
Hands in the air. You know John Hamm, right?
No.
All right. All right. Anyway.
I know Ham.
Yeah. I know a John. I know some Ham. Somewhere in between, there's an actor named John Hamm who does a lot of things on television and the screen. Boom. Anyway, what we do is we listen to great video game music from all consoles and all generations. We pick a topic, we pick some music, and we have some fun with it. I want to thank everyone who's joined with us today on our live stream. Today is a exclusive live streamed episode for our Patreon members. At patreon.com/rhythmandpixels. As a member of any level there, you get access to these monthly live streams, which we're trying to bring back into more of a regular schedule.
Yeah, because this was honestly a fairly near spontaneous one. So
well, I was like,
oh, can make it.
You're coming over this weekend. Oh, it's the first of the month. We should just do it.
So thank you for everyone who was like, wait a minute, I can work with that, and showed up.
I hope everyone's enjoying the throwback episodes that we've been putting out every other week. We're going to continue that for maybe a couple more months, and they're just fun to revisit. So if there's a classic episode that goes through World 3 that you're interested in hearing again, or a topic that you're interested in doing again, go ahead and let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to pick sports games next, because it was like short. It was the first episode when we first moved into the new house, and I just set everything up. We didn't have a lot of time to do anything. No. Actually,
the
no.
The first episode from the new house was town music.
It was. I'm sorry. We had set things up for Wit to be on the show. And then he canceled, and then we had to come up with something else.
There it was.
And I was like, what do we do?
The sports bowl.
Like, we got to do sports games, because I played a lot of sports games as a kid.
No, you didn't.
I played a bunch. Tim likes sports.
Does a bunch too?
I'm on the Sega.
Is a bunch equivalent to two?
Once things got, I played all the hockey games. I played NHL 94, 95, 96.
Those games have tons of music. All that silence and licensed music.
Blades of Steel, ice hockey.
See, I wasn't licensed back then.
I played NBA 96, 97, NBA Live. I played Tecmo Bowl, Tecmo Super Bowl. Come on, Purnell.
Fine. You've played 3 sports
Madden.
games.
The early Maddens, not the newer ones where it's all like way too specific about real football. Actually, my favorite sports games were the ones that were like Cyberball, Cyber Baseball.
Oh, Cyber Base Wars.
Yeah, Cyber Base Wars, and Cyberball was a lot of fun too. I played that in the arcade a lot.
But with that said, though, save that dialogue for the actual sports episode if that happens.
We'll do another one, yeah.
But
I'll make you do it.
Where have you been in the last few weeks? Because I think that's the last time we did an episode was quite a ways back.
Very sick. The last episode, it was 2 weeks ago we recorded.
That was a long time ago. Life has been moving.
My throat was getting worse the last time we recorded, and then I got really sick again. And it was kind of, for the doctors can tell, like the effects of COVID coming back and biting me in the butt. Ew. So everything in my head just got infected, and I was out. I was actually on my butt for like 5 days.
Oh, that sucks.
So I didn't really do a whole lot. I played a little bit more of Sea of Stars, which is to say I'm kind of done the beginning portion of the game.
I can relate to that.
Like
problem.
I finished the first boss, which was a lot of fun. Like I like the world and the turn-based like fighting system in this game. It's really good.
Which is sadly farther than me, because I am at the first boss.
The cloud thing, right?
The giant worm.
A giant worm. Oh yeah, ways to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I forgot that it wasn't the first boss. So yeah.
See, my problem is that one of my recent games I had to play for the other show, SML, was Disgaea 7. So even though I'm obviously didn't beat it because it's Disgaea, and I'm not going to not do side stuff, I did take the advice of one friend of mine who suggested don't be the laughing stock of Disgaea reviews. At least acknowledge and get to the point where you do item reincarnations, which is like chapter 8. So I was like, okay, I'll just play as much as I can while trying not to get too sidetracked on item worlds and stuff. And I still putting a ton of time into it, and it was like, crap. Okay, this will have to do at least to talk about the game because I already know I like it. It's good. The systems they put in there are decent.
Yeah. Is it Tenpei Sato again on the soundtrack? No.
For the first time, it's not Tenpei Sato. It's some other guy.
How does it stack up?
Tenpei Sato's music is better, but the music that this guy has is also pretty good. Like, it's not a disappointment. It's just different. But Tenpei Sato's style is very uniquely his own.
Yeah.
And I felt the difference immediately. Like, who the heck is this? This is not what I come to Disgaea games to listen to. And I was like, well, there you go, friend. So, but I played a bit of that and a couple other games I had to play around with here and there. And then I was like, but I still want to play a little Sea of Stars. And then I got caught up in wanting to play Cassette Beast. So I started playing that on the Steam Deck here. And I just never have time. Plus, life stuff's happening.
Yeah, plus there's plenty of stuff, other things you have to do, right?
Yeah, family stuff's getting more convoluted and complicated. Though my brother at least did come finally take the air fryer out of my house. He has an air fryer now, which means I can finally set up the air fryer I've been sitting on since November of last year.
So you've had 2 air fryers.
Yes.
And an oven.
And an oven. The oven is now pretty much a decoration. Yeah. Unless, because I don't serve meals for large quantities of people.
Right.
And unless I want to make a roaster or something where I want the juices to remain in the food, I'll air fry.
Right.
Like if I make jerk chicken, that's in the oven because I want it to stew in all the fat and seasonings that melt down into the pan. But if I'm making something where I want all the fat to fall off, I want it to be healthy, I want to cook quick, air fryer, baby.
Nice.
Here's me endorsing a product that we're not getting paid for. Buy an air fryer.
Ours just broke.
Oh,
all I've ever used it for was I used it for tofu, and I used it to do crunchy chickpeas.
Oh, man. There's so much more.
And it just died. And I was like, well, all of these things I could do in my oven. So I just stopped.
Yeah, but that's the thing with the oven.
One less thing gone.
You have to preheat the oven.
Yeah.
Which I ain't got time for.
That was what was really nice with the air fryer, was not having to preheat it.
Yeah, that's a big difference. That plus, like I said, if you, like, for example, this isn't something you would do, also, but if I go to the grocery store, anybody listening has like an Acme or like one of the grocery has like the hot food section, and you can just buy like wings or something from there. I'll buy a bag of wings that are already cooked, take them home, slap them in the air fryer. Air fryer makes them crispier and remove a lot of the excess oils and fats that they leave on there because they want to get it out and available for people to buy. So when I put the chicken onto the plate and I dump out the air fryer, it's like drip. It's like all this excess oil is just falling out. Oh. It's like, this thing is amazing. I could live without one because that's life. Yeah, but I would prefer to not go without an air fryer ever again.
We just don't eat that way anymore. It was
vegetables. I use it for vegetables.
I know. What was nice was you could cook tofu in half the time, but it would give it a nice crispy skin every time.
Yep.
Which in order to get that in the oven, I'd have to like turn it over and do an extra 10 minutes. But you know what? The way my life is right now, I'm okay with that.
You're a minimalist.
I want less stuff in my kitchen so that my countertops are clean.
Whereas I should have less stuff in my kitchen, but I don't.
So I'm trying to leave stuff out. So that works for me. But yeah, anyway, Sea of Stars.
But for the rest of you, get an air fryer.
I did pop in the Capcom Arcade Collection, the second one, on the PlayStation a while ago. And it's got Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3. It's got all 3 Vampire Saviors games, Darkstalkers games. It's got Puzzle Fighter. It has Street Fighter 1, Street Fighter Hyper Fighting Tournament Edition, Street Fighter 2, that is, and a few others. But it's mainly like the draw is all the fighting games. So I played through all of Alpha 1, and that was fun. I didn't think I was going to do it. And then I was going to go through Alpha 2, but then realized that my thumbs were hurting on the controller. Like, I'm used to the joystick. And a lot of the Alpha controls are like, you have to hit 3 at one time, 2 at one time, quarter circle. My thumbs just can't do it anymore. So
you aged out.
I aged out. I don't have a stick that works specifically on the PlayStation like that. So, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. I was like, wow, Alpha was a good game. It was a completely development studio at Capcom that made the Alpha series. And the idea was to make it easier to play. Just easier. And they rushed it. They rushed it quick. And it's great. I really enjoy it. It's simple. Because you can block in the air. You can do all sorts of stuff.
This is Street Fighter 6.
Street Fighter Alpha.
This isn't Street Fighter 6.
No.
Are you sure it's not Street Fighter 6?
Yes.
I want it to be about Street Fighter 6.
Do you want to play Street Fighter 6?
No, but I just wanted an excuse to bring up how apparently people were saying that Street Fighter 6 makes Mortal Kombat 1 look pretty sad.
Why is that?
Because Street Fighter 6... Because, keep in mind, Mortal Kombat 1 just came out. And by that, I mean, like, it's like basically a Mortal Kombat 12, I think it is.
Yeah, it's like
point.
12 or 13, but it's like a reboot of the first one.
Yeah.
But the animation and like the way everyone moves and like controls, it still looks like it looks like Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, don't get me wrong. No, I see EB was like, no, he means Street Fighter 2. I was like, no, I knew. I was just joshing because I wanted to talk about the comparison.
Yeah, we can go there.
But like they were saying how Street Fighter 6, which from what I remember reading and you talking about, they did do this. They apparently did a fair bit to almost not quite reinvent the wheel, but do enough to say this feels fresh for the franchise and is good for bringing other people in that are like, hey, this might be my inlet to mess around with these games, even if I don't stick around. It's a good place to start. Whereas he was like, there's like Mortal Kombat, whatever number they are at, is just their attempt at redoing it and bringing people in was this weird narrative reboot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the gameplay in any way. It doesn't update the gameplay in any way.
The gameplay is about the same. If you're interested in the story and extreme violence, Mortal Kombat's your road because it's a crazy story and they've kept a continuity through the whole thing.
And I find it genuinely chuckle-worthy too.
Street Fighter, the story, I feel like the story has always been secondary, and that's okay.
Well, it feels like it should be a Street Fighter because the last thing I'll bring up about Mortal Kombat that I always found, just general observation I always found hysterical, is the fact that, and I'm sure there's probably a narrative reason for this that I just never caught, is the fact that these Outer World tournaments are always related to like these very brutal combat sessions with fatalities, very visceral death scenes for characters, and yet somehow they can keep having games with a continuous plot using the same characters that just got their spine ripped out in the previous game.
I'm sure that they're
a wizard did it.
It's a wizard, yeah. I'm sure that there's some kind of continuity thing involved there. But like, I was watching gameplay and like someone did a combo where like the game actually slows down and you see like knives go through the guy's head. I was like, oh, this is a fatality. No. It was a normal move in the game. The guy had like knives like sticking through his ears and like he pulled like in his nose and it was disgusting.
But then he gets back to his original fighting stance. He's like dancing.
But it was just a hard knockdown. He just got back up again and I'm like, oh, this is.
And he's still dancing and stands like, let's go. Like you just got stabbed 5 times in the head.
Street Fighter is more on the cartoony like anime style. Like that's what I want. Like super stylized, gameplay focused.
And it should be
They're
like
throwing
that.
fireballs. They're not like
because if it weren't like that, you'd get Mortal Kombat, which gets you back to what I was saying, how it makes no sense how they can have a continuity in a game where everyone gets viscerally murdered after every battle.
I know we're not breaking any new ground with this conversation, but it is a thing of mine that like
we're breaking new ground for ourselves.
It's a reason why I like this the Capcom fighting games the way they are, especially the 2D ones. So
yeah, I can play either or. It's just like I said, I just joke about it in the sense of continuity.
Like
aspects.
Injustice when they tried to do the like the DC Comics crossover, like it's just silly. Like Superman will kill everybody, right?
Oh no, they had to do a thing where everyone gets depowered to an equal level or something, like with Dragon Ball.
Like Dragon Ball.
They did the same thing with Dragon Ball. I was like, how do we make Goku fight Krillin and not just brutalize him? And it's like, well, not Krillin so much because they're actually friends, but just most of the lower tier villains. No,
if it's a tournament, then they have to fight each other. I guess at some point. They end up in the same bracket.
As they rephrase that, how do you make it so that Krillin can fight Cell?
Yeah.
On equal footing. Yeah. And they're like, well, if we have it so that a character does something that makes all their power levels equivalent to each other, then there's no harm in it. And that's the story. So now all of a sudden these characters are the same but different, but at least they tried. And I'll give them that. It's like, okay, I can play the game now without asking too many questions. Just give me what I need.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just a video game. You should really just relax.
Can't do that.
Mystery Science
I'm old.
Theater. Yeah.
I can't do that.
I'm an old guy. I got to get into it. All right. So that was pretty good. Talking about games a little bit.
Now we'll never do it again.
No, we'll never do it again. I'm trying to think what else I've been into this week. Oh, one last thing. So, Christy and I was going to cancel Netflix, but they pick up these international shows that are like awesome. And there's this new, they've been picking up these reality kind of game shows from Korea
Yes.
that have been incredible.
Like Squid Game.
No, like actual
Yeah, like Squid Game.
Squid Game. Oh, they're making the game that like the whole show is like you shouldn't do this. It destroys society, and they do it anyway.
Yeah, they're making a game show based on Squid Game.
Well, we watched one called the Physical 100, which is like 100 jacked Korean people doing like physical competitions, and that was awesome. The newest one is called The Devil's Plan, where it's like 20 super smart like engineers and teachers and scientists, and they have to compete in like super complicated, essentially board games with each other to knock each other out. And there's like hidden games and hidden like puzzles throughout, like hidden inside the house.
That sounds intriguing,
It's
actually.
Awesome. It's so good. It's so much fun, and like the rules explanation is like 10 minutes long, and you're like, okay, am I going to be able to follow this?
No, I'd be involved in something like
You would
that,
love
especially if the person explaining the rules is engaged and they have charisma.
Yeah, they kind of do.
So here's where it gets crazy,
Well, that's
Gene.
the thing with these types of, there's no host. It's always like these shows. It's always like an anonymous like shadow person behind the scenes telling you what's going on.
Oh yeah, the mastermind.
Yeah, but like there's no name, there's no face.
Yeah, he's the mastermind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they're the mastermind.
They're the mastermind. And like, so like they're, every once in a while it pops up on the screen. It's like, you must enter the main arena now. And you walk in there, it's like, okay, here's a board game. Here's the dice that you roll. And like there's 5 sides of the dice. So this will do this, and that'll do this.
You must get 20 victory points before the other player.
Yeah, they actually carry victory points. They can freely trade it, and they can use it to do other stuff. And then there's like hidden puzzles inside the victory points.
Which, by the way,
it's cool.
That is awesome to me, and I like the idea that what a game show should do. Because now I'm thinking about this in a meta sense. Like,
it's neat.
You play board games, and then we just start the topic because people are like, "Where's the music, you crumb bums?" You have board games that have victory points in them, and you could have a massive tournament where you're playing different games to get different amounts of victory points, and you might get rated both on the number of total games you win and also your VP count. Obviously, some games have higher victory point totals than others do when you wrap up. But you can take the victory points outside of the games to like a vendor to buy things with them to enhance your future games. Like you might have to take a game and say, okay, you can start with
exactly what they did in this. Because if they lose all their points, they're out of the game. Like that's the knockout mechanic. Mm-hmm. But in future games, like if they wanted like a higher probability, or if they wanted like extra
battle dice, or
extra powers, they could turn in their victory points.
Yes,
it's crazy.
That to me would be ingenious
so
to have
people,
a thing set up.
So the people who did really well, they kind of like formed an alliance. They would pull their points together, and then they would like attack other players.
Oh, that's smart.
It's really neat. It's really, really neat. Anyway, the Devil's Plan. We watched it dubbed. Like the dubs are getting really good now on Netflix. Netflix production is way up there. So I was gonna cancel them, and then I was like, wait a minute.
Well, that's
These
how they keep
oddball
you.
shows that pop up. Yeah, if they just keep doing that, I'll just keep watching. I'll tell you more about it later. You are the first song pick, and we have a few track suggestions and testimonials from listeners, but not a whole lot this week. Usually on these episodes, we have all tracks and testimonials from our listeners, but we're going to do a little bit of half and half today. Pernell, do you have the list? Do you want to pick one of your own? What do you want to do?
Well, I'm obviously going to start with the list.
Let's start with the list.
I want to talk about what listeners submitted. So the first track came from GameFan44. And this is actually from a game that I've been curious about in the general sense of like what it is and how lighthearted it is.
I've never heard of this one.
Oh, I absolutely have. This is a cool idea for a game. It's from Little Gator Game, and the track title is called Many Office Supplies Die to Bring You This Music. And let's give this a listen.
All right.
Oh yeah, welcome back. You're listening to Many Office Supplies Died to bring you this game from the game Little Gator Game.
I wonder if they've used office supplies to make all the sounds, in the background, because that percussion is very interesting to listen to. If you're not listening on headphones or in the car, you're missing out on a lot of cool stereo effect. Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Also, it's by Robin Burgess. We confirmed that.
Oh, good.
Now, honestly, it's very possible because I don't know, just from what little I know about this game, I don't know where that title comes from to produce as this track title. It's an interesting choice of one, but if what you're describing as a potential is somehow true, well, there you go. They broke a lot of pencils and alligator clips or whatever. So here we go. What did Game Fan have to say about this? She said, Little Gator Game is an adventure game where you play as a gator. You used to play with your big sister all the time, but since she went off to college, she hasn't been able to play with you ever since. You have gathered friends to try and get her to play with you again. Now, what I do understand about that game is pretty much like she described, and it's a light-hearted adventure game where you're running around with a cardboard sword and shield.
Oh.
And you're doing little side activity / requests for people in the neighborhood. And you're also just kind of interacting with the area you're in and your friends as well. Basically a large-scale play date, like you said, with the intent being to entice your sister to hang out with you again.
Oh, that's cute.
It's one of those things where I remember seeing it pop up on the eShop, and I seen the trailer for it, and I was like, this seems like a nice niche in the cozy game mechanics or the cozy game structure that we've been getting used to these days. I would absolutely play this. As you heard at the beginning of the show, though, time has not been my friend for so many reasons. So it's becoming harder for me to squeeze in games that are not already curated from the list of stuff I stumble across.
I'll say this because I know no one I work with listens to the show. Every once in a while, I'll pull up itch.io at work, and I'll play a browser, one of the game jam puzzle games and stuff.
The sad part is even if someone was listening, it's hey, I'm getting my job done. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it's my lunch break. I played one. It was called Admin, where it's an adventure game where you are a new IT guy at a job, and everyone's kind of a jerk, but everyone collectively has forgot their passwords to their computer, and so you click around in their offices looking for clues to what their password might be. And you talk to them, and they're like, oh, I think it was my wife's name, but maybe it's her birthday, and you're looking for Post-it notes where they wrote down clues, and you're looking at their calendar to figure out dates and things like that. It's really fun. Yeah, it was just a really simple little puzzle game, but I really enjoyed that. But yeah, so I sneak that in sometimes. Or the Internet Archive, arcade. Yeah, play some SimCity. So you can't beat SimCity. Classic SimCity, it's good. It's good. Yeah, this is fun. It's a way to start the show. It's hey. Actually, a good way to start the show is you and me talking about TV shows and
just 80s memorabilia. Yeah. Actually, that might be an episode topic. I don't know how we fit it into the show, but something that came up last night is 80s movies that did or did not hold up in modern day.
Yeah.
For
a lot.
Oh, for sure, but for different reasons, of course. But it's interesting, if you can make a fun dialogue about that, which I feel like we did last night. It's hey, this would be a good dialogue for a show. Just how would you fit that in with the VGM component? You
know who would be good with that is Mike over at XVGM Radio. I feel like he would be really into that.
Oh, okay.
He likes a lot of those classic movies. Our next track is coming to us from our listener, I would say member of the show, third member of the podcast.
Is it EP?
The shadow member of Rhythm and Pixels is Electric Boogaloo. I will keep saying Electronic Boogaloo. I don't know why. God bless him. He sent us music from Windjammers. This is You Got a Power, the Concrete Court music. Music composed by Seiichi Hamada and or Tomoyoshi Sato.
You got a power in me.
I got Neo Geo power for now.
You got games. I got them too. Get y'all.
Yeah, we're gonna let this go one more time. I love it.
Yes, you got the power. It's a piece of cake.
Yes, you got the power. It's a piece of cake.
You got the power. It's a piece of cake. This is a jam. I love this. That bass, the slap bass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the slap bass is like iconic '90s arcade music sound because it works.
And Windjammers is timeless too.
Works for me every time.
As it should.
Yeah,
It's quality content.
yeah. Windjammers is cool, man. It's like let's make a sports game out of throwing frisbees at each other. You know, it's cool.
I would honestly, it makes me wish it was the sort of thing that could exist. But if you watch actual Windjammers and what it could actually be and realistically,
Yeah.
I'd wager it'd be pretty bland.
The closest is probably Ultimate Frisbee. You've ever seen like people really play Ultimate Frisbee?
No.
Do you know what
actually.
Ultimate Frisbee is?
I just know it's frisbee, but it's like actually physical contact, I believe.
No, it's team. Well, I think it could be, but it's teams of players on a field trying to get the frisbee from one side to the other.
But once you catch the frisbee, you have to stop moving. You can't like run with it. You have to throw it again.
Yeah, I think you can take one step or something.
See, so I'm not crazy. I have seen Ultimate Frisbee.
It's cool.
It just seems like an interesting name to call. Like, what makes it ultimate?
So you want to play with me? Like, we can form a team.
I think you need a team of like 8 for Ultimate Frisbee.
We can start. We can
get out. We can recruit your son to play.
Yeah, he's almost there.
He's only months old.
He's only 9 months old.
He's got this in the bag. We got this.
Here, let's read what EB has to say. Hold on, I got it up here. EB would like to say, Windjammers is a game I instantly fell in love with when I first discovered it many years ago. In fact, I did plan at one point to import a Neo Geo CD mainly to play it, but I never went through with it. Anyway, once I heard it was getting re-released back in 2017, I knew I had to get a copy for myself, and I figured my cousin, who had a PS4, would certainly be into it. I ended up playing a couple matches with him many times, and I was just too good. But he was definitely getting the hang of it, especially after a couple of online matches. And later on, I got to see him introduce the game to his friends, and it was very cool and surreal to see a bunch of youngsters get into an old 1994 Neo Geo game. But it just goes to show how great of a game Windjammers is.
Timeless.
If you or someone you know likes fast-paced flying disc action, Windjammers, and by extension its 2022 sequel, is worth a spin.
At Neo Geo parties every single year, there always ends up being a Windjammers tournament. It always ends up being a ton of fun to do.
It's great. It's a great versus game, like competitive, like one-on-one game.
Absolutely.
I wonder. I haven't seen the new version. Do you know if they've expanded on that to be like 2-on-2 or anything like that?
No, unless I could be wrong here, but from what I remember about it, it's fairly milquetoast compared to the others. Like, it's pretty much the same game, but they added some characters, maybe a new mode. But most of the reviews came back saying like it's more of Windjammers. Nothing to be like, oh god. There's more like, just if anything, the best thing they describe is like it was a way to put it back on the map.
Yeah,
to say Windjammers is a thing that still exists. You should be playing it.
Part of the charm is it's like 90s, like extreme radical. Like,
I would have been fine with that. I'd have been sad if that went away. I'm saying it'd have been nice if they had like a doubles mode, or I don't know, just like maybe stuff like landmine, just some variation, because
something a little extra.
Because I stand by the belief that when it comes to games like that, there's really no harm in adding optional features that you can turn off if someone's like, these features all suck. I just want classic Windjammers. Well, it's right there.
I think they did that with Bomberman. Like with all the new versions, they were like, here's like a like on the Dreamcast one, there was like, here's a submarine mode, here's like a hidden mode, here's like a free for all mode, all these different modes that you didn't have to pick, but it kind of gave you some variation.
Yeah. Here we go. EB says they did add some new moves that you could pull off too.
I like that.
So basically add a little bit more, to your kit.
Yeah.
But but that's what makes Bomberman special too. It's the fact that no matter what they decide to do to improve or change it, which I'm always down for them adding new modes and features, Classic will always be there, and Classic is always accessible if you just want to stick with nothing that you want to stick with everything you're familiar with. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
And that is how you prevent companies from feeling like they have to be stale. Because that always seems to be the case. People will get upset about new features in games, but then the company that made the game doesn't realize that you can just put a toggle option in there and just take all the stuff you didn't like out.
Yeah, it's nice to have that option. I think a lot of people just they're like, oh, well, it's not you're playing the game if you're not playing everything added into it. I'm like, well, Yeah, I think you're playing the game. You know, they're not telling you how to do it.
I had a goofy idea too, real quick, since I brought it up in the last segue. So I have my Steam Deck here, and I was like, it'd be interesting just to name all the games I've been trying to play in the last 2 weeks. I'm not kidding. 2 weeks. Games I bought or got access to that I'm like, I could just dip my toe in this game and see what it's like. Obviously, some of these I didn't get to play at all, but that just goes to show you what I've been doing. So, Gunbrella. There's like 10 games here. Like Gunbrella, Akashic Force, Grounded, Astral Ascent, the Ace Attorney trilogy, because I'm like, I want to play those again.
Right.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord.
You did a review of Wizardry, right?
Yeah, it's still freaking hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Wandering Sword, Atomic Crops. This was a surprise to me that I thought the wise guy owned, but it turns out they gave it to him for free because he owned the original version of it. It's called Savant Ascent Remix. It is really, really good. Really good. The music is great, and the gameplay is simple yet deep. Doomblade, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk.
Oh, I want to try that one.
Fashion Police Squad, the most ridiculous premise for a game, and I love it. I learned about it through from Matt Waldron. You are basically officers tasked with enforcing proper dress. And your weapons are like fashion guns and accessories. And you have to attack enemies with the fashion equivalent of the thing that would fix their fashion faux pas.
Yeah.
So, like, you might need like a stitching gun to shoot a guy who's got poor hems on his suit.
Oh, that's funny.
And that fixes the suit.
I love that. That's cool.
The Legend of Nayuta Boundless Trails, Core Keeper, Cassette Beast, which is a game I think Game Fan would actually really dig. I've been liking it a lot so far. Sea of Stars, the game that I need to play more of. Death Bulge, Battle of the Bands.
Good.
So good. And Storyteller. Storyteller is a puzzle game where you're trying to use icons and scenes to tell a story that the game wants you to express, but they don't tell you how to express it.
Oh, cool.
So this is me on one of my consoles trying to sort through games to play that it's like my eyes are bigger than my time structure of what games I can play.
I know. There's too much out there that's too good. It's the same issue with the board games. There's too many interesting things you want to play.
Oh, you don't have to tell me with the board games.
Yeah, no,
my house is more game than man.
More game than house.
Yeah, more game than house.
Your house is made out of cardboard at this point, right?
Shrink wrap my house.
Yeah. All right. What's the next pick?
Okay, so let's see. I will go with a track from good sir Martyrus. This comes from the game Child of Light, and it's called Dark Creatures, composed by, I think I've heard this name before. I think Martyrus may have submitted a track from this person before. Couer de Pirate, otherwise known as Beatrice Martin. Welcome back. You are listening to Dark Creatures from the game Child of Light, composed by Couer de Pirate, a.k.a. Béatrice Martin, and submitted by listener and friend Martyrus, which, by the way, Martyrus, a friend of mine sent me a picture 3 days ago. He was like, this was almost a whole year ago, and it was you, our friend Mike, and myself at the cyber cafe. You're like lying on the table. And I'm like, this guy's asleep. But he wasn't asleep, though. We were trying to sort out our date plans or whatnot. But it was a fun day, and it was a good picture, too. So I can send it to you if you want, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, he was like, yeah, this was almost a year ago today. But enough about rehashing old memories. Let's talk about the actual track and the dialogue of which he put to it. Martyr says, I introduced this delightful game to my daughter several years ago. After watching me play, she wanted to play it herself. She likes the story of a girl who befriends many strange creatures and is able to carry herself through thick and thin. Now a bit older, she still enjoys the game even more. I feel like that actually counts as a very good track as a gift, something to gift to friends and family.
Yeah, I like that.
Because he literally gifted the game and therefore the experience of the game to his daughter. So I can appreciate that. And I feel like this is going to sound real dumb, but always people like to say things like, people just want to have kids because they want to have an extension of themselves to carry on the torch or whatnot. I mean, and let's be honest, there's nothing particularly wrong with that either. That's human.
Well,
that's to be human. Yeah. But with that said, I do feel like personally a big reason why I would have wanted to have kids would be because I want to see how they would react and respond to things that I liked.
Yeah.
Like, even if they come away and say, Dad, I don't understand why you thought this was fun. This looks stupid. These graphics are so terrible, Dad. I'm like, hey, when we grew up, this was the best we had to offer.
Well, you're going to have that experience with my son.
That's the experience you'll have.
We're both going to.
Like, hey,
you think I'm doing this on my own? Don't you walk out on me, Pernell.
Hey.
You should like single podcast.
I'll admit, though, there's a part of me, I feel like with all my good friends, like you and Anthony and Matt.
See, yeah.
I feel like that just kind of happens like just by being around. Like, I show up, the kids are playing Pokemon, and they're talking about how great the current Pokedex is, and I'm going to be that old Gen 1er, at least for that moment, and go, you don't understand, kid. Back when I was a lad, the best we had was Ruby Sapphire Pokemon, because I still like the newer Pokemon, but I liked having a nice, tighter roster.
That relationship you have with Matt's kids and them, it's really, I love that. It's so cute, but it's a little different because they live a bit further away. You're here all the time. Not all the time, but you're here a lot already.
That's true.
So you're going to have a little bit more of a relationship and maybe a little bit of a butting heads playing games kind of thing.
Oh, I'm always butting heads with games.
Yeah, but that's what I envision. I'm really excited about that. Like you sharing those experiences with him.
I'm not giving any wins away.
Oh, no one will.
He won't let me win. Dang right I'm not. Get better.
If you want to feel like you've won something, play the computer.
That's right. You play me, you're going down.
If you want to feel good about yourself.
Well, I will say I'm not the type. I will say in my experience though, I'm not a jerk in that if I beat a child at a game, I'm like the one that wants to encourage them. Like, oh, you did good here. This is what happened. But with that said, the moment you get too big for your britches, gloves come off.
Well, the thing is, I want it to be not just a positive experience in that he's winning, but a positive experience in that they want to keep playing the game. I don't want to discourage him.
Oh, no, that's the thing. You don't. But what happens is, it's like you learn humility in this instance, too. Because if a kid's playing a game and they lose, but they tried their best, and you can be like, well, this is how you work to get better. Like this thing here. Let's try this trick. You start to help them get better, and then eventually they might win and go, yeah, I finally beat you. I'm doing better. And they're having fun. But definitely with Anthony's kids, if he's listening, I hope he's listening. With Anthony's kids, there was a moment where their son Gannon was like getting too big for his britches. He started talking mean smack. Oh, I'm better than you at this game. You can't beat me at this game. I'll show you. My dad says I'm better than you. I was like, all right, let's see what you got. And I started to win promptly. And I immediately looked and proceeded to go, in your face. I'm old. I'm not dead. You'll never be better than me. It was amazing and wonderful.
That's hilarious.
Like, don't talk to me like you're better, because that just means I have to act like I'm better when I win.
Like, I'm not going to,
or if I lose, I'm just going to go. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to like enforce Ollie to be into all of the same nerdy stuff that I'm into, but. Like, I want to experience. I'm looking forward to having those experiences with him, but I'm not going to make him.
No, you're not supposed to.
I don't want him to be the experience. I want him to explore and figure out what he wants to do.
Oh yeah. But then the thing is,
but growing up around this stuff, I'm hoping, like the same way I kind of was. I'm hoping he is interested.
I was about to say, because be honest with yourself.
I want to play.
Yes, you want him to learn find his own way and his own interest, but. If he happens to find his way to things you like, you cannot deny that would make your day or life.
I'm saying, like, I don't want him to get like really into the NBA, but if he loves basketball, I'll learn it too.
Yeah, you just work with it.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
I'm not going. I would never be a parent.
Yeah,
that would be like, oh God, I can't believe my kid likes the Easy Bake Oven. What the heck is wrong with him? Like, I'm like, yo, would you bake it?
Yeah.
Can I get a piece?
Or whatever like video games are. Like, is it first person again? Does we go back to being side scrolling platformers at some point? Who knows?
It'll be probably VR tunnel vision or something.
Yeah.
It's like I'm actually in the game, Dad.
No VR helmets. that's too much screen time.
It is all screen time.
It's all screen time. All right. Our next track, that was it, really, from a lot of our submissions. So I'm going to pick a track. Since we didn't even announce what the topic was, but we kind of have been talking about it, which is games and music that you've shared with friends and family, or friends and family have shared with you. And this game, I've played it a lot as a kid, but like this memory is really kind of important to me. This is from the original Doom for the PC. We're going to listen to music using the PC Ad-Lib sound card by music by Bobby Prince. We're going to listen to the track "Hiding the Secrets." We're back. This is music from the game Doom, the original Doom, Doom 1 for the PC. This is Hiding the Secrets, composed by Bobby Prince for the PC Ad-Lib sound card.
Hey, Bobo!
Sorry, man. I still have a lot of congestion. All right, so this one was interesting. So it was in junior high, I think, when this came out. Oh, man, when did the first Doom come out, man?
I couldn't even
1993, so I was 13. I was 13 years old when this game came out.
Huh.
And my friend, Henry, he lived on a farm on a road actually really close to where I live right now. I still go to the farm for produce. And which is interesting that there's a farm right there still, but the developments over the course of, I don't know, centuries, maybe a century out here, has developed the whole area around this area, but they've kept it a farm and an orchard for a long time. Anyway, long story. In the house is him. He lived there with his grandmother, his mother, his grandmother, his father, his uncle. But it was like a couple generations in his family in this house. His uncle lived on the top floor of the house near the attic. And in the attic, he hosted 2 bulletin board systems, 2 BBSs from the house. And we loved going up there and playing with all the computers. He had like rows and rows of bookshelves of like fantasy books and Dungeons and Dragons stuff and like VHSs and all sorts of fun stuff. And we went up there one time to see him and to play games. And he's like, guys, I just downloaded this. It's going to blow your minds. And it was the first Doom. And I was like, oh, this is like Wolfenstein. And he's like, oh, it's better.
Let me introduce this violence to these
and I was like, whoa, it's so real. Look at all the blood. That's so cool. Oh, man.
These old flat enemies walking around.
I'm like, I can download this? He's like, yeah, you can go home and download it now. So, of course, I said I think I had to do it overnight. I went to the bulletin board because I only had one phone line. So it would break if someone picked up the phone. So I was downloading Doom overnight, and then it was great. So much fun.
I think my first time playing it was in school computer lab.
Oh, yeah?
Of all places. I didn't own a computer. I didn't get a computer until I was like 16 or 17.
That the shareware heyday, like that's where a lot of that stuff lived, you know? It was like the first level or the first 2 levels of a game, or in Doom's case, it was the first like world, the first chapter of the game. They just gave it away.
That's actually interesting to hear because I feel like this is the first time I've heard of that being a thing that happened before.
Shareware?
No. No. The thing scenario with Doom being that you could just get it for free, that wasn't considered piracy. It was just, here, we're offering this up, but then eventually it became a retail product.
No, it was a retail product. But like you could download it, and that's what shareware was. You can go and get a disc for free. Sometimes you could buy a disc full of these shareware titles. And if you liked it, you can send the money or go to the store and buy the whole version of the game. Yeah,
that part I know. For some reason, I was taking that to mean that you were able to download like the first level before the game was like fully completed or something.
Oh no! It's usually like the whole thing was done. Like this was like the model of selling like PC games before, and I kind of miss it
because back in the day, couldn't you also buy like various magazines that would just come with the disc that had a ton of stuff on it? Yeah, I remember those days too.
We used to go to these computer like fairs at University of Delaware, and you go there and like they had all these vendors selling like computer parts and computers, and you could buy these discs that were like CD-ROMs full of shareware games just collected. And so I was like, oh, for $10, and you had like 1,000 games, and most of them were like as much as you'd probably want to play anyway. And some of them were like, some of them worked, some of them didn't, some of them were like kind of vaguely soft-core pornographic, like puzzle games, that kind of stuff. Like it was like really silly.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like that was the medium at the time because like PC 98, which we'll factor in later in the episode. When I learned about those games from the U.S. market, when friends were buying like TurboGrafx and PC Engine stuff, I was like obsessed with it. I was like, this is really cool. So I started like looking more and more into it as I got older, when I had access to like the actual internet. Like, what other games existed on the PC Engine and all that? I was like, whoa, PC 98, PC 8, yeah, that's how it was. So like, but that seemed to be the market then. It was crazy.
Yeah, the PCs had a lot of adults owning these computers, so there was a lot of adult-focused video games. Hence the Nintendo, the Famicom. It was a family
computer.
It was a family computer. So you bought it. You bought a family computer. Yeah.
And thank heavens for that because let's be honest here, the Nintendo Entertainment System was responsible for so much of the entertainment we deal with today.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they pretty much fostered that market.
Yeah.
And now we have access to, we will have access to like Mario Wonder, a franchise that's still going. So.
All right, so that's it for me on this one.
Also, one thing I wanted to mention before we switch, though, Jess showed up into the chat, and she actually mentioned that her next-door neighbor ran a BBS from his basement, and they used to stop by with discs of new games all the time.
Oh, that's cool.
So they had full versions of Wolfenstein and Doom.
Yeah, they were all over, these BBSs. Like, you never knew who was running them, too. I had, like, a sheet, like a printout from, like, one of those dot matrix printers of just phone numbers. so I can dial out and get to them.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
See, that was a whole era of entertainment I just completely missed out on.
I was obsessed with it was all DOS and like this little modem I could hook up to the side of it. And I was obsessed with learning everything I could about how all this stuff worked and how to do anything with it. And I had friends in school that would dial into the same ones of them. They were called door games because there were games you could play on these systems, but they only hosted like 1 or 2 people at a time.
So you had to kind of go into the revolving door. Like you come in, you can play, and then when you're done, you leave.
You have like 8 turns on a game, and you play through the 8 turns that you could. Like I would walk into this dungeon, I'd fight this monster, I'd buy this potion, then you would leave, and then someone else would walk in and be like, "Oh, Rob did this and did this and did this. Now I'll do this."
Oh, it's not that they get a fresh experience. They continue where you left off.
Yeah, they were persistent.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them. Legend of the Red Dragon was the big one we used to play.
Story stick, the game, basically.
Trade Wars was the biggest one. That was really cool. Trade Wars rocked. And actually, a lot of these games, like especially Trade Wars, there's still versions of it you can find online. Okay. Now, are you ready?
Yeah, I have a track.
You got a track?
Maybe. I don't know. You figure it out.
All right, we're gonna stop listening to Doom for a while.
Well, in the theme of the episode, I thought of a track that I wanted to share on the show that factors into some dialogues I've had over the years, and it was kind of reinvigorated over the last week. And I'll talk about it when we come back. But the track I want to choose is called Hardy is the Strongest from a game called The Scheme, and it's composed by Yuzu Koshiro. Welcome back. You're listening to Hardy is the Strongest from the game The Scheme from the PC-98, composed by Yuzu Koshiro. I love this track. I look at the footage of the game and I question if I would want to go back and play it if I had access to it, as opposed to hoping it gets remade in some fashion. But who knows? If I had access to it, maybe I would give it a deep bit of a try. The video game itself.
Yeah, this is old school.
Yeah, it's an old adventure platformer, Metroid-like in that sense. I'm not going to call it a Metroidvania. I refuse. But it's one of those games where I wonder if it would hold up per se, because there's some chunky aspects to the gameplay. But with that said, I mean, I would play East 3, so who's to say I wouldn't play this? So, but the reason why I picked the track for the episode proper is because what usually seems to happen in a lot of game sphere or video game music spheres is when people talk about Yuzu Koshiro, only one game generally comes up. You know what it is. Just state it.
Oh, it's Streets of Rage.
Which one, though?
2.
Yeah, specifically Streets of Rage 2. It's like, I imagine this poor man composing music, doing a great job of it, mind you, but it's like he's constantly forever chasing the high of Streets of Rage 2.
Everyone's like, you do rave music, right? And he's like, there's more.
There's more. I've done so much more. But you did Streets of Rage 2. I did. That's all we care about. Streets of Rage 2, everything. And I feel like I'm always that guy that's trying to, look, I like Streets of Rage 2 just as much as this guy. I love the game to death, and I love his music. But he's done other work that deserves tons of credit. even so much like he'll make a video game that comes out in the modern day, and they'll go featuring Yuzu Koshiro. He composes like one track for it, and it's a good track sometimes, but it just blows right out the window. Like no one thinks about it beyond like a month or so of the game's release. It's just Streets of Rage 2. This is a game that not only have not many people heard of, but the OST for it by him is legit good.
It's really like early because he worked on the original Ys series, like Ys 1 and 2, and so like to me like this is like him in between like the Falcom sound, the Wolf Team sound, and I really like that because it's got the fun FM synth. It's kind of dancey in a way, but it's like heavy rock. Like you can imagine like a heavy rock
I like to see the
band.
Falcom sound team take hands to this.
Yeah,
just to play it on their live
like a
shows.
String section and all sorts of cool stuff going on with this. There's a lot with this track. This is good. The whole soundtrack is pretty cool on the scheme. I remember exploring it for the show. That's the only reason I would have heard about it was for the show.
That's the only reason I heard of it. I mean, because looking into music and composers, I start to deep dive. What are some other games they've done? And it ends up being stuff like this.
Speaking of deep dive for now, let's dive a little further. Again, going into a bit of my childhood here. We're going to listen to some music from a SNES game, a Super Nintendo game. A friend of mine used to play this. He loved RPGs and real-time strategy. I didn't like any of that stuff. All I wanted to play was action games. But he had this game. For the longest time, I looked back on it. I always assumed he was playing Ogre Battle.
Well, there's my game.
But that's not what it was. It was King Arthur's World.
It wasn't Ogre War?
Have you heard of King Arthur's World?
I've heard of Bobby's World.
Bobby's World. Bobby. It is interesting. It plays a lot like Lemmings in that you go and you select the different characters. They're kind of moving on their own, but you're fighting bosses and enemies with them. It's interesting. I didn't realize it's a cool soundtrack. We're going to listen to a track called Goblin Funk for the Super Nintendo King Arthur's World.
Kids catch them in balls. It's great.
You put them in the ball and then you shoot them out and you fight them. They could kill your children.
It can kill your children, but no, if anything, it's just going to evolve into Drift Blib.
We're back. We're listening to music from King Arthur's World. This is the Goblin Funk, composed by Justin Sharnova for the SNES. I mean, this has got some funky organ on it. This whole soundtrack was way slicker than I remembered. Like, maybe I wasn't paying attention to the music when I was a kid, but it's cool. It's just cool. I mean, this is a King Arthur's like medieval fantasy game, and you're like, oh yeah.
But you said it reminded you of Ogre Battle?
Well, when I think back on it, I don't remember any of these games very well to begin with because I didn't pay attention to them.
I get that, but Ogre Battle...
This is more like, again, this is a lot more like Asterix and Obelix or...
So it wasn't dudes on a map?
No, it's a map, but it's from the side view. And you start off with only King Arthur, and you have like so much money in a tent. And you purchase new units from the tent, and then you can kind of like direct them to go certain places. And you have an objective on every round, like defeat all the monsters, or fight the boss, or get from here to there.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's all point and click, essentially.
Okay, I can dig that.
Yeah, so that's why in my mind I was like, oh, it's a weird point and click fantasy thing. Was he playing Ogre Battle? He probably was at some point, but I remember this game because it was just different from everything else he showed me.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned Ogre Battle because that's another thing that came up in the last literally 2 days in my life. So I don't know what prompted it, like at all, but I got this desire to boot up the Wii U again.
Okay.
Which in turn has the Wii built into it because they were both systems were in one device.
Right. So your whole Wii collection's available.
Yeah.
Right.
So I booted it up with the intent to play Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Wait. So you can put your I don't know the mechanics of this. I don't know. You can put your discs for the Wii into the Wii U.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And if you need to play them, you actually go to the Wii dashboard as opposed to the Wii U's dashboard. And it's just like the Wii was when I originally owned it. I even ported all my old games over to it, the ones I had downloaded digitally, which I didn't buy a lot, I bought like 1080 snowboarding on there. Okay. But on the Wii U, I had forgotten, but I bought Ogre Battle 64 on that.
Oh, cool.
And Ogre Battle 64, for those who don't know, was, of course, the sequel to Ogre Battle on the Super Nintendo, but it got a very limited print run on the N64, and, of course, it's got a decently high market value now. Do I own it? Of course I do. But I don't feel like breaking out the N64 and setting everything up. But it's kind of nice. I was like, I should play the Ogre Battle 64. I never did much with that game. I just kind of bought it, played one chapter, and put it away. I would like to.
Like, for some of these classic games, do you still have like the box and instructions and stuff?
No, because my dad, when I was like maybe 19 or so, he convinced, actually first 19, but then later when I was like 23, he convinced me to throw away all of the boxes for everything I had because he's like, no one's going to care about this stuff. It's just taking up a bunch of space. It's cluttering your room. And quite frankly,
I know.
You can stand to do without it. So he convinced me.
Thing.
I threw it out, and now I'm like, I wish I had all that stuff still.
I did the same thing with my Dreamcast games.
I do have the manual still, though, and I was able to say, no, I need the cases to protect the disc games. So all of my CD games still have their cases. But the cartridge games, he made a logical point for it, mind you, which is that the carts don't need a case. The box was just to display it in the store to make you want to buy the game. Logically, he's right. But as a collector, of which I am one, it stings in the present day where I'm like, man, imagine if I had all these boxes and the way they were when I bought them from the store.
It's interesting. For the Super Nintendo, like it was a cardboard box with a cartridge in it. But for the Genesis games, I would
it was
love
presentation.
To find more. Yeah, but the whole thing was a hard case.
Yeah.
That held it in. So, like, I want the whole thing.
Yeah, Genesis games, I feel like if I had Genesis games at that time, because by this point I had sold all my Super Nintendo and Genesis games to buy other stuff.
Unless you held that box in the sun and it, like, faded,
those
things were indestructible. Yeah.
Yes, and they're great.
Yeah.
Like, right now, I think I have a few cases at home still, primarily Shining Force 1 I have the case and game for. And I think I have, like, one or two other games. But for the most part, even my Genesis games are just solid, just the carts.
I just have what I bought off of Joe Cam. I have Shaq Fu, Aladdin.
Aladdin's a good game on Genesis, though.
Oh, it is good. I have some arcade classics, but then I have a few like he gave me a few
extra loosey
goosey ones. But I have Castle of Illusion, so that's pretty cool.
That's a good game, yeah. I like that. That was one of the earliest Genesis games I played.
It's good. It's good.
Mickey Mouse.
Okay, so we're gonna turn this track down all the way down, and we're gonna get into the part of the show that we call the bonus round.
Bonus round.
Bonus round is where we play covers and arrangements and remixes on our theme. Pernell, what do you got for us?
We'll have to do an EX or something for another listener's submission on this, but I have a track I want to play on the show. I'm going to dip into $1 from my Patreon money to buy it because I want to play it on the show because I have been obsessed with this song for like 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
I heard it on a video that was like an homage to both Daicon 4, which is a classic anime skit that was done prior to like Daicon. I don't know. I think the convention was actually called Daicon, and it was done by the original team Gainax, people that did Evangelion eventually.
Oh, yeah.
But this was about basically a Transformers, and it was really good, really good. But the track that plays over that, I was obsessed with it. I started playing it in my car. I played it in the gym. I played it at home.
Right.
And now I'm playing it on the show to complete the system, complete the circle.
Okay.
So this is a track called Hibachi, and it is composed by a band called The Mains, and it was featured in the video Arcee Dreams of Daicon, and it's on YouTube, so you can always go look up the video as well and give it a good watch yourselves. But this track is freaking sweet, and I want to share it on the show.
Wow. I love it. I love that.
I told you, like, I was
Yeah.
like, this to me, that's video game adjacent because this is called Hibachi and is composed by a group called the Mains.
Yeah, Manes.
And I consider it video game adjacent because it has like that style, like when you got actually full orchestrated bands and like actual bands playing in video game music instead of like actually like chip tunes. This is the style of music I could see playing in more like a PlayStation, like nostalgic 90s or 80s video game for me. In fact, I was already doing that thing where I'm like, okay, I hear this music and I like it a lot. I'm going to picture it being played in other scenarios, including video game, racing game scenarios, adventure games scenarios.
It has like a racing game kind of feel to it. Yeah.
Yeah, like being in the car, windows down, shooting down the highway, going 95 miles an hour.
Oh, man.
Trying to overtake the opposition.
It was so nice. I was expecting like a vocal or a verse or a chorus or something, but like never really came in. And I was like, I'm down with this. This is nice, instrumental.
It's a freaking bop.
All right, so this is Pernell's EX pick. So we got another one, right?
Yes, we do. So give me a second.
Running low on time here.
I know, it's fine.
This you also say that.
This comes from GameFan44.
Yes.
This is from the game Sea of Stars, which I think is going to come up if we eventually. I think next episode we should try, unless we have a guest, which I think we might. I don't know, but we should try to do the whole wrap up for like summer game stuff.
Oh right. Yeah.
But this comes from a game that I believe her and Wise Guy completed. This is Garls' theme, "Dance of a Thousand Suns," groovy guitar covered by Bad Hairline Productions and from the game Sea of Stars.
Ooh, that was great because it was so much like the original, but it was arranged really nicely.
Sadly, I haven't heard the original yet for obvious reasons I mentioned earlier in the show, but I'm getting there.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. And I do like the game from what I've seen.
I love Garls. Garls is fantastic.
I want to see how he can be so upbeat given the beginning of the game. Like, admittedly, it wasn't his friend's fault for what happened. That's not the very beginning of the game.
You're so far in the beginning. Yeah, but it seems like the villain's like introduction. It's not. It's great. He's so cool.
They introduced the villain that early in the game?
No, they're saying Garls' story feels like how a villain story.
How a villain story would begin. Yeah,
exactly.
Like you would think he'd be the
That's what I was
opposition.
thinking. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah, but
you guys are so special.
Yeah,
I'll show you what special is.
He's incredible.
He reminds. He would have been the guy similar to the Incredibles villain, where it's like when everyone's special.
That's how it felt.
No one is.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I thought that they were going to go down that path, but no, he's just so cool.
And apparently, I hear he loves to cook and he's upbeat.
It's super upbeat.
So I'm looking forward to that.
He loves his friends.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
Those are my kind of game characters. And also, that would mean that this game would be a fine example of a game that I don't think would be better with an adult cast.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, they're kind of adults. They're young adults.
Yeah, but I mean adults. I'm talking, instead of having a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds or even 19-year-olds, I'm talking the main characters are like in their 30s.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah.
Because game companies don't seem to know how to do that for RPGs. I don't know what it is, but I would like to see a company try. So that would be a hilarious random topic, like RPGs or games that would be better with an adult cast. I don't know. It'd be fun.
I'm sorry. Game Fan wrote some things.
Yes. I can read it.
Okay.
I got this.
I was like, what are we waiting on?
We need to stop talking about games. Sea of Stars is the game a lot of people are talking about right now, and it is good. The music is a bop, and the characters themselves are great as well. The story and combat are fairly simple in the beginning, but they get more expanded upon the more you play. It's not overly complex. It's pretty simple, and that makes it so nice. And that's true. Like, that's one thing about me that I will say when it comes to games. I love games that give you a lot of intricate systems to play with in combat and exploration. The problem with those, though, is that they are intricate and in depth, which means if I ever have to, like, I'm dealing with that now with Labyrinth of Refrain.
It takes a lot of time.
I had a whole setup going on how I was going to reincarnate my puppets and how I was going to get them specific skills and levels and the like. And I put the game down for 2 weeks. I don't remember any of it anymore. And now I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I want to finish this game, but I cannot in my right mind have a desire to go back and retool 50 puppets. Screw it. I'm going to play through the game with what I've got right now and see if I can make it to the end. And that's what I'm trying to do with my hodgepodge of partially reincarnated puppet people.
You got to reincarnate them.
But if it was something like Sea of Stars where it's like, what do you need to give them? Well, this character only uses blades. This character only uses a staff. So just get the best staff you've got and give it to her.
Keep vamping. I got to go.
The water closet. But like, yeah, it's like you just get your best staff or your best blade or whatever, and you just go with it. It makes things simpler, easier to get back to the product when you're ready to revisit it. At which point, the only complicated thing becomes, I guess, the plot. But that's one thing more games could probably stand to have too. A narrative summary section where if you come back to the game, you can go into like a menu and it just says, okay, where you leave off in the game, here's everything that's happened since then. That's of importance for you to get back in sync with where the characters are in their journey. I think that would be pretty cool. So at this point, I'm going to say this is where, I don't know, Rob, when he comes back, he'll have to stop in and maybe do a little slight edit, but maybe not. I don't know. But let me think here. Games that I'm playing right now. What games are you guys playing right now as a sense of what, games, not so much of what you've beaten, but what you're playing through right now? Because for me, it would be Disgaea 7. I mentioned that game Storyteller, which I'm trying to tinker around with more, and Cassette Beast, which, like I said, I was going to mention what Game Fan 44, why she might like it, is that it's basically Pokemon. So now I got to finish this riff.
Keep going. Keep going. This all stays in.
So in Cassette Beast, you play as a kid that gets teleported to a weird world where a bunch of other people also got teleported to it from their respective worlds. So they're all just kind of stuck there together. And there's also a weird power where you listen to cassette tapes and you turn into monsters based on the cassette you're listening to. So the Pokemon aspect is you swap cassette tapes to listen to music to turn into monsters. And then eventually you become friends with other characters that become your partner characters. And they also can turn into cassette monsters. But when your bond becomes high enough, you two both fuse together to become a brand new cassette monster that's built off of the two cassettes currently in use. And there's like 150 different cassette beasts, and there's a fusion for each combination of them. So it's ridiculous. And TMs are basically stickers that you put on the cassette tape, which is pretty cool. I like it. I like it. Oh, Jess is. Oh, I want to hear about that. She's playing Callisto Protocol.
Oh,
tell me more about that because I do feel bad. The studio is actually shutting down. But when the game first came out last year, I bought it on release day because I was hyped for what they were trying to do. It didn't do too well in the reviews as far as like a lot of involving a lot of quick time events and the like, which resulted in me being scared to keep it and not liking it. So I took it back to the store. Thinking I'll just buy it later if things change for it or whatever, and I just never got back to it. But I would like to go check it out. And it's a good game for Shocktober, too, which is now, by the way.
It is October. I forgot.
That's correct.
All right, our next track is going to come from...
Welcome back, Rob.
I'm here. I've never left, actually. Can you believe it? Our next track, it comes from... I'm surprised you've never done this on the show before, where I'm just like, gotta go to the bathroom. See ya. This comes from... I've just been drinking so much tea today. This is from Martyris again. The track is from Genshin Impact. This is Xiao, Doomsbane, the epic orchestral remake. This is composed by HOYO-MiX, remixed by Atharva Mohite Music. And we're back. That was music from Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact. Genshin. If you gotta come up with your own lyrics here. That was Xiao, Doomsbane, the epic orchestral remake, composed by HOYO-MiX and remixed by Atharva Mohite Music. Martyris says, several months ago, my daughter watched me play Genshin Impact and was curious. She liked some of the characters and how the world looked. While she managed to play it on her laptop, the frame rate was around 20, if I recall. Eventually, I was able to get her a beefy desktop so that she could play at a whopping 55 frames. Now she plays it whenever there's time and thoroughly enjoys most of the characters she's able to acquire and play, especially Xiao, for which this remix track is her theme. It is pretty intense. I'm assuming it's an intense remix of her theme, or maybe Xiao really is the bringer of the end of the world.
Who knows? It's Genshin Impact.
You impacted all the Genshins.
It's a game I need to play someday because
there's a lot.
I probably won't, only because it my usual stick with like gotcha type stuff.
Well,
but what I do know about the game is that it is, for anybody who is playing it, it's really well done. Like they do good work with the content you get.
It's F2 the P, right? Free to play.
I believe so. Yes,
yeah.
It is definitely that. But then you can but it's just a matter of I need a game to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. these things that go like I'm not that. Maybe it's not for me. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's just not what I'm looking for. But like I need like a complete story.
For me, it's not even about my age. I don't think though. For some may hear this, they might think no, it is about your age.
I think it's about our age. Yeah.
What I think, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it is because the main
you're
issue
old,
I have.
You're old. Yeah.
Hush you! I know I'm old. My back just went out this morning. I kid. No, but the idea being just simply there's so much. Like I have chats about this constantly, which kind of sucks. The idea that it feels like we have so much entertainment media now that it all feels like it's disposable, which coming from a collector, that says a lot, right? Yeah. But it feels so disposable now. So what I try to tell myself, at least as one way to kind of feel like I have control over like the elements of games I expose myself to, is to say, if I buy this game, it has a finite amount of content that I will be able to technically play through if I start it up, focus on it, and just knock it out. And then I can shelve it and move on to something new. But games that go on forever, the alternative is to say, play till you're bored and then put it down, which I can do in other games as well, but it doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah, play until you feel you're done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to feel like the game I pick up has a conclusion that I can in turn say, I consumed as much of this as I can. I can walk away and engage in something different. But most free-to-play games, their design, their intent is for you to play it pretty much forever. Until they stop making profit.
Until they stop it, yeah. They didn't design a game with a finish. They designed a game to be done when they're done.
When they're done, yeah.
Speaking of which, the new Vampire Survivors has got a new DLC coming out. I'm like, hell yeah, give it to me. Put it in my veins.
Just hook me up.
Just put it right into the feeding tube.
Anyway, but you've maxed out Vampire Survivors so far, right?
Oh yeah, I've passed the max. I've broken some of the characters. In fact, one of the characters is broken. You know, I've maxed it out too much. So, for more information on the bonus round part of the show, go to rhythmandpixels.com. We'll have links to the artists' Bandcamps and SoundClouds, everywhere you can go and download the music, buy their music, and support these artists.
What track is this?
This is the replay music from the Lakeside for now.
Wait, each level has its own replay feed?
Oh yeah. This is one of the best soundtracks in the world. We're listening to music from Sega Rally Championship, the replay from the Lakeside stage. This one is brought to us by EB. He's in our chat playing Sega Rally Championship. He knows what's good.
Sega.
Which is Sega racing games.
But I think it's interesting specifically he's playing it on Windows 95.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's got a thing for Windows 95.
No. I mean, I get that.
I'm not going to shame that, yeah.
I'm not shaming anything. I'm just saying it's interesting to hear.
Can't believe you would. Can't believe you would for now.
Wait, what?
And our listeners are very important to us.
Well, that's true. So don't be putting words in my mouth.
Yeah, no. I'm just giving you a hard time. Anyway, I want to thank you everyone for, I just bit my tongue.
In your face! How would you get?
That was karma. I want to thank everyone for joining us on our episode. This is episode 37-3, our Patreon exclusive episode, all about sharing games and music with friends and family, or friends and family sharing those games and music with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it brought up some memories of your own. And honestly, if you have a topic suggestion for next week or a track suggestion, please send us an email.
rhythmandpixels@hotmail.com.
And if you want to say hi, do that. I forgot where I was going.
Do that!
For a full track listing of this episode and all of our other episodes and access to all of our other episodes, please go to the website.
rhythmandpixels.com.
We also have a YouTube station, youtube.com/rhythmandpixels that plays 8-bit and 16-bit classics and deep cuts on the live station all day long, so you can check that out. I'm also going through the process of uploading some underrepresented PC Engine OSTs on the station as well. So I just uploaded the Ninja Gaiden for the PC Engine, which has its own soundtrack that's separate from the others. I think next week is Blue Blink, and then I've got a few others going up too. So so I got a bunch of soundtracks getting uploaded there. Also, if you want to support the show, you can just share it with people. Share it on social media. Tell people about it. It's, the holidays are coming up. You can gift them.
Trick or treat.
Gift them podcasts.
No, just put USB drives in kids' candy bags.
Yeah, you hide it in the Snickers bars. Oh man, they snuck a podcast into my candy bar.
Guess you gotta listen to it.
Yeah, that's why
That's the rule.
That's why moms and dads are opening up the kids' candy to find the podcast hidden inside.
It's a prize.
It's a problem.
A prize problem.
It's a prize. It's a problem. It's a problem surprise. You can also go to Patreon, patreon.com/rhythmandpixels. As a member there, you get access to these monthly live streams. You also get some access to cool stuff like stickers and mugs and exclusive t-shirts. We also like to thank the members of our Patreon at the end of every episode at the highest tiers. Oh, I should also say, you get access to these episodes ad-free on Patreon as well. But we also like to thank members of our Patreon at the highest tiers at the end of every episode. So I want to thank Brooke, thank you. Corey, thank you. And Khalid, thank you. All three of you, thank you so much for supporting our show. And I also want to thank Kristen, GameFan44. Also, thanks for hanging out in the chat. Martyrus, host of the Re-VGM podcast. Very cool podcast. Thank you so much. Mike Myers, Antmaster, Brian Pitt, Cameron Worma, Carlos, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, a podcast devoted to Asian cinema and Kung Fu movies. Chris Weisner, a.k.a. Musashi219.
The wise guy.
Thank you to Christopher Shenstrom, host of the Gameable audio podcast. Davey Cakes. Thank you, David Good, David Taylor, Enchilada Bragol, Harold Howard, Triple Jeff, Justin Schneider, host of the XVGM radio podcast, Keith Shusterman, Rage Cage, host of the VG Emporium podcast, which I'll be guesting on eventually. Thank you to Reinhard Selkova, Steve Miller, Taco, and Zach Dornbach. So thank you to all of you and many more for supporting our little show. It means a lot to us.
It's much appreciated.
Yeah. All right. So we will have a throwback episode next week, and then kind of another classic Robin Purnell episode.
I'm trying to think.
Style. I don't know. You want to look at the topics real quick? You want to do that? We can do that right now. We got some topics to look at.
Oh, we can cross that bridge when we
Boom.
get to it.
Crap games with amazing music. Gross out games we want to see localized. Jingles. Cosplay. Nicktoons. Gardening. Toho games. Shoujo. Business time. Patreon. Music battle. Maker games. That's a cool one. And remember, so it's all of you giving positive messages for like an hour. Final Fantasies, Oops, All Tangents, arrangements in our game setups, Science, First Place, tracks picked from games that we only played for the first time while track searching, Evening Games, Bats, Wine and Drink pairings with games, and then Siren Songs.
That one I know about.
You know that one?
Oh, yeah, I was the one that came up with it.
Oh, okay. What's that one? What does it mean? What does it mean?
I'm not just saying on the show, it's a surprise.
That's a surprise. All right, so one of those is going to be... Oh, and then Probability, Flow Games, and then this one. Boom. Look at that. Knocking them off the list. We're good at this. I feel good.
But I want more. I want more topics.
All right, I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's Rhythm and Pixels. My name is Rob Nichols.
And I'm Purnell.
Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
And remember, sharing games with friends and family is a great time. Music as well. Share with them all. Make them feel happy and not so dead inside. I feel that's weird. But no, truth be told, sharing interests, both musically and entertainment-wise, are a fantastic way to foster connection with people in your life, whether they are people you already have a fondness for or people you're just meeting for the first time. It's just something worth doing, but I also acknowledge that we live in a world where a lot of people just sometimes feel like they want to clam up and not share what they like because they feel like they might be embarrassed by it, or like, what if the other person doesn't like it too? I'll look so stupid. I'll be mortified. That thinking's lame. And I'm okay with saying that because I also have to tell myself that sometimes too. You just do it. If you like it enough, it's worth sharing with other people. If they give you crap about it, well, it's just not for them, and they should grow up as well. So share what you like with people, and hopefully you'll find a new friend to make a connection with as well on the same topic.